Hey, everybody. This is Ryan. Welcome back. Chad and I have an awesome podcast up for you guys today. On our episode today, we have a guest who is a big advocate for mental health awareness and mental health amongst first responders, in particularly law enforcement officers. He's a friend of both Chad and I. We've known him for a while, and really excited to have him on. And coming up on the show, we might actually have a name of the show to announce. Glad to have you and enjoy. Hey, how's it going, everybody? We got Chad and Ryan coming back at you. Chad, how you been, man? I know we got some big news to announce coming up for this show.
Brother, we do it. How are you? I'm doing well. Thank you.
I'm doing fantastic, man. Getting ready for the holidays here at the Chartrand household, and lots of excitement in the air.
I'm sure Santa's almost coming, so it's always an exciting time.
Yeah, how about your household?
Oh yeah, kids are bouncing off the walls. I got a almost 5-year-old. He's my youngest, so he's counting down the days. Got the elf on the shelf and the countdown calendar. So yeah, it's a lot of fun there.
Oh yeah, fun. So you want to make the announcement? Let everyone know the big news we got coming up.
Absolutely, yeah. We after much conversation and input from others, we've come up with the name Breaking Badge. It's a play on words from Breaking Bad, the great television show, and it's a double entendre as also Breaking Badge, as we're here to help cops not only stay in the profession, but ones that choose to leave transition out. So I think it's a great title, and I know we enjoyed when we heard that.
Yeah, I'm excited. It was, I know we kicked around a lot of different ideas, and when I saw that one, I know it was boom, that's it. And even the people I mentioned it to, they said that is an awesome title. So I'm excited for that. So our guest today, he served for 4 years in the United States Army, followed that up serving with the municipal police departments for 23 years as various positions in law enforcement, from being a patrolman to detective in various leadership positions. He's currently the host of a top-ranked criminal justice podcast called CJ Evolution. He's an author of the book Evolved. On top of that, he's a speaker, he's a mentor, and is very influential for many of us in this field. And just personally, I just want to say that I was so excited when I first found our guest, and he was really the first person that I connected with that was an example of a police officer who was having success outside and afterwards in the profession. And he really was the first realization I had that I was not alone in feeling the way that I did, and what I wanted to do going forward. So without further ado, I'll bring it on. Patrick Fitzgibbons, welcome to the show, Pat.
Hey, welcome, you guys. First of all, I love the name Breaking Badge. That's an awesome name, and I love you both. Chad's a good friend of mine, so are you, Ryan, and I appreciate being here, brothers.
Awesome, man. Like I said, I've been excited to have you on. I know, I know you have a big part of your stories really evolved over the last year that you've been sharing and getting the word out there to bring to people. But before we actually talk about that, I just want to, did I get everything correct? I want to make sure that I didn't shy you.
Oh, you got it. Everything's fine, brother. Everything's fine.
So without going too far back, I guess we'll start. And, within your career, you obviously had a very successful career in law enforcement and in the law enforcement profession. And the people that we try to connect with on the show are people who are in law enforcement, and they're trying to make that decision where, am I going to do something different? Am I going to make some changes and go forward with law enforcement, or am I going to move out? So if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to hear a little bit about what ultimately led you to the decision when you were in your career and having success. What made you decide that, okay, I'm going to make this pivot and I'm going to leave law enforcement?
Great question, Ryan. I had a successful career, ups and downs, like you both know, in law enforcement, but I really wanted to do other things. It really what it came down to. We had my show, like you mentioned. Thank you for that. And I wanted to start growing the show more. I wanted to start getting out there and speaking more. And plus, quite honestly, I was burned out, 23 years in law enforcement. When I retired, I was, a commander. So I was pretty burned out in law enforcement. I love law enforcement, but 23 years is a long time. So I decided to exit, and it was a good decision. I don't regret it. I mean, I always tell people, they ask me, do you miss law enforcement? I say, I miss some of the clowns. I don't miss the circus. But, I respect very much the brave men and women who serve us every day. So it's more tough now than when I was in. So.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Now, so you talked about the burnout, and that is, you can't deny that. And that's something for me. I was feeling it at the 10-year mark. I mean, not alone, 23. And there's guys out here where I'm from in Massachusetts. A lot of guys do 32 plus, where they're still working. So do you think there's anything, whether could have been in your control or out of your control, that would have just been a change in the profession that would have been able to reduce that burnout, maybe make it a little more bearable, and would have led you to continue in law enforcement longer?
Great question, Ryan. I mean, law enforcement, you both know, and your listeners know, it's a fast-paced environment. It's constantly go, 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 go. But I think, sometimes command staff, and I was part of command staff, but I had bosses. I think from my perspective in the two agencies I was in, command staff can do things. I'm talking about very senior leadership, chief, however your organization's structured, can do things to kind of mitigate the stress with, the people on the front line, our brave men and women, and, not being nitpicky, not being micromanaging. That was a problem in one of my departments. Things like that. We're all under a tremendous amount of pressure. And I think things like that could help mitigate, officer burnout. Now, I think it's twofold. And you both know this. I mean, you have to do things for yourself. I mean, I always tell people, when I was still a police officer, I always told officers, I said, don't rely on the agency to, take care of you. You got to take care of yourself. So the agency can do so much, but it really falls down to the individual, in my opinion. The agency can do things to mitigate stress, whatever, to make it less stressful. But then it really falls back on the individual to make their lives bearable, to take care of themselves mentally, physically, body-wise. And I failed in that for, a long time, especially during this year. But I got back on track. But again, ultimately, I think it falls on the individual, I always tell, I always used to tell cops, okay, they want to go to training. And they're waiting for somebody to say you can go to training. Well, seek out the training, seek out the stuff and do it from your end. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. And I know one thing, you touched on some issues there. And one of the things that you're a huge advocate for now is officer mental health and mental wellness. And I know that hit pretty close to home for you over the last year. And, one thing I always honor and respect about you is that you're very transparent and vulnerable with even what you go through. And I know you do it to help others. And like I mentioned earlier, to make people realize that they're not alone. They're not alone in these struggles. So, would you mind talking about some of the things that happened to you over the year and what you've done?
Absolutely. And Chad and you a little bit, Ryan, were there with me. I mean, Chad was texting me every day. Love that guy. Love you. But it really started last year about this time in December. My son tried to commit suicide. He was home for the holidays. He was in the Air Force. We found him on the kitchen floor. He was unconscious. He was in and out. He wasn't unconscious, but he was in and out of consciousness. And when we found out that he was, he had tried to commit suicide, that hit me very hard, obviously, as a parent and the rest of the family members. And I remember seeing my son on the kitchen floor, Ryan, gasping for air and his eyes, glassy, and all those images from, law enforcement, all the death I've seen, like your listeners probably have, and you two have, came flooding back. Now, my wife at the time, she wanted me to get help. She said, you need some help. You've been suffering for not just with this, but, a little bit before. I want you to get help. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to get help. And then I slowly started to isolate, started to drink a little bit more. And then I went to Arizona in April, beginning of April, came back. My wife wanted a divorce. Now there's stuff in between there, but I'm giving you the abbreviated version. So that sunk me further down into depression, to a point where, I was starting to have daily suicidal ideations, where I was, I kept telling myself, I'm going to kill myself. My brother has a shed in his backyard. I'll just go over there and do it. I was in bed one night, had a little 9mm by my side. I was going to rose it up a little bit. I never pulled the trigger. It's like those two voices you have in your head. One of them says you're a piece of shit, and the other one says, you got a lot to live for. So I put the gun down and grabbed my cell phone, started reaching out to people. My family, my sister, my brother said, hey, I'm going to hurt myself. I want to kill myself. My sister raced over. We cried. She said, I'm going to take you to the hospital. I went to the hospital. I was there for about 6 hours. And I checked, and I voluntarily, I know how the game works. I voluntarily checked myself in because I knew I could leave at any point. So I just didn't like the hospital. I didn't like the environment. It's always, when you're on the opposite end of those M1s or mental health holds, I don't know what you guys call them. It's just shocking, obviously. And that's what it's designed to do to some extent. So I left. My sister took me back to my brother's. I had a safety plan in place. Now, in the interim, my brother took all my guns, and I have a shitload of guns, which is a good thing. He took all those. But I knew, Ryan, and Chad, you know this. I have a network just like you do, both of you. And I knew that there was a place down in Florida. I couldn't remember the name. But I remember hearing of this program for first responders down in Florida. And I made some calls. Next day, I started reaching out to my network. I was talking to people like Doug Monda, Brock Bevel, people like that, of course, Chad. And, I started reaching out. Before I knew it, within 48 hours, I was down at an amazing treatment facility called Shatterproof, FHE for first responders. And there I got the treatment I needed, brother. It was a combination of traditional counseling, psychotherapy, medication, as well as holistic therapy. And that really helped me. So I was there for, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for not only people in my life, like you two, but, the treatment. I was there for a little over a month, came back, and my treatment continues. My treatment doesn't stop there. My therapy gave me the foundation. That's just the foundation. And so I still am in therapy, see a psychiatrist, see a counselor once a week. And I'm just blessed, brother. I'm blessed to be here. So coming back full circle, my big mission now is just to help as many first responders as I can, whether it's going and giving a speech, whether it's doing a show with you two. If we can help one person out there that's suffering, we're successful. The more people we have, your show, my show, other shows, that not only bring awareness to the problems that first responders have, and we both know, your listeners know, or all three of us know, that it's huge. Too many of our first responders are dying every day from self-inflicted, from other things, alcoholism. And we just need to do a better job at helping the brave men and women who serve us every day. So I want to put more action behind it than I have been in previous years with just my show. And that's my mission.
When you look at the police profession now, mm-hmm. Although this is not rooted in any sort of facts, but what's your opinion on how prevalent poor mental health is in the profession? Is it every agency's dealing with it, only some? Like, what's your take on
I think
what's like?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Chad. I think I don't think every agency deals with it. I think every officer will deal with it at some point in their life. I think some agencies are better than others when it comes to handling the problem with mental health and mental wellness. I came from an agency. My last agency was really good. They were very proactive, with their mental health treatment. But I think some agencies fall short. You guys have both been around long enough to know that I think the majority of first responders are suffering in some way, shape, or form, whether it's from stress, burnout, depression, substance abuse. I think a vast majority of them are. Now, I don't have statistical information in front of me, but in the current climate we live in, brother, where there's a lot of anti-police sentiment out there, I think the majority of Americans support our brave men and women. But I think there's, officers see that on a daily basis. They got departments now, and I'm sure you both have seen them, who are offering $20, $30, $40, $50,000 sign-on bonuses because they can't get people to get in. And I think that has to weigh on every officer to some degree, with, people don't care about us. But again, the flip side of that is I think the majority of Americans do care about the brave men and women who serve and protect us every day. They serve with honor. They're not in it for money. You both know that. But yeah, I think it's pretty prevalent, brother.
So Pat, I just want to say that, and I'm sure, I know Chad echoes this, is, I am so grateful that you are here with us today.
Thank you.
And are going to continue. And, we all know that, and I'm a firm believer that things happen for you, not to you.
Yeah.
And your experience is going to help so many people going forward. I have no doubt of it. And
I appreciate it, brother.
Just for those of our listeners that don't know all of the story, I do know that your son he's doing very well now. I think I just saw it was his 21st birthday, right?
Yeah, I should have said he's doing great. It was really amazing. When I was in the Army, and Chad, you were in the Army a while ago, and it was a different Army or military when I was in, and probably Chad was in, where if you had problems like this, I mean, we were always, Section 8 is what they called it. I don't know if they call it that anymore, but, you would probably get discharged. Now, the thing I was really afraid of is the Air Force was going, and my son even told me when he was in the hospital, I was talking to him, he said, Dad, if my chain of command calls, please don't tell him that I tried to kill myself. And I said, at first, for a while, I was like, I'm not doing that. And then he convinced me. And then his chain of command called, really nice colonel, really nice lady. She called me up and said, we know what's going on, and don't worry, we're not going to discharge your son. I mean, he's an asset. He's got a top secret clearance. He's a good airman, senior airman, and we're going to help him. And that's what they did. They helped him, and they amazing treatment that he got. And again, I was, a little leery, but I'm not saying all branches are like that. I'm just saying that the Air Force, nothing but applause for them with the treatment for my son, and he's doing great, brother. Thank you for asking.
Pat, that these alpha environments, these military law enforcement, a lot of strides have been made, and I think we have to celebrate that. But like you said, when I was in the Army infantry, I mean, you just didn't bring these things up. You just didn't bring them up. You were viewed as weak, or you didn't want to compromise your operation or your mission. And law enforcement has made a lot of strides. I mean, what would you recommend if you're an executive, you're viewing this video, you're watching this right now, you're an executive out there, you're aware enough to know that mental health's an issue, what recommendation would you make to them to implement in their agencies?
Well, first and foremost, I'd go back to the academies. I think we need to do much more when it comes to providing the foundation for cadets, people going through the academies. I think here in Colorado, we get 2 or 3 hours of mental health. And I understand there's post requirements and you got to stuff a bunch of stuff in there. I get it, but we really need to, I'm not saying, it's going to solve everything, but if we can get, the cadets, the new people, a good foundation, and, implement that in the agencies, follow up with that foundation periodically, maybe twice a year or a quarter or whatever, then I think that's going to help mitigate. And it's not going to solve all the problems, but I think it would help mitigate some of the problems that we're seeing. And of course, I think it's a culture thing, Chad. You both know that. I mean, the culture of the organization. Neil Gang, that we all three know, great individual, a good friend of mine out in California, he's leading from the top down. So it's really incumbent upon the senior leadership of our organization to set that culture where officers, first responders out on the street, they feel, I don't think they'll ever feel comfortable, but it's that environment where if they have a problem, they can come forward. Doesn't mean they're going to talk, but at least that's an option. And again, going back to what I said, I think some departments are better than others with that. And so there's different things that I think we can be doing better from a command staff perspective, to really, really provide that foundation. So officers, we can kind of mitigate, that struggle. And a lot of agencies here in Colorado, the bigger agencies, they'll have sleep centers. I don't know if you guys have those, where they put beds in the police department. So if an officer is stressed, needs a nap to re-energize, manpower permitting, they can go take a nap. I mean, it's stuff like that, little stuff like that can help mitigate, problems down the road.
Say that about the sleep centers because, I don't know about every agency in the Northeast here in the Philadelphia area, but I know many. I mean, I know them all in the county I worked in. There is no beds in there. There's no push for mental health. There's one agency, and it's a very progressive, affluent county, but there's one agency that does yearly peer assessments with mental health, with other first responders that are trained in mental health advocacy. And I'm just blown away that, in this area where I worked at, it's not more of a concerted effort. I mean, where I worked, if you had mental health issues, really nobody wanted to hear it. It was a lot of lip service, but then you talk about Chief Gang and other chiefs, Chief Harvey, that are really implementing these mental health units for both the community and their officers. It's amazing the dichotomy, and those are the examples we need to start pushing our agencies to.
Yeah. And I hate to sound cynical, but a lot of times it comes down to, okay, money, we're going to divert funds. Okay, we're going to have to pay for, but do you want a healthy organization? Do you want healthy men and women out there serving and protecting the communities? It's going to make them better. Or do you want to, have all these lawsuits going on within agencies where officers aren't getting enough sleep and they're burned out? You saw that, I don't know if you both saw that young officer in Phoenix that got on the radio and just retired over the radio just because he was forced to do, he was working, I think, a 16-hour shift, and his lieutenant got on the, got him on the radio or whatever and said, we're going to work 4 extra. And he said, I haven't slept. And he's like, I don't care. It's stuff like that. I understand the manpower issue. I mean, I know we struggled with that. We were on 12 hours for a long time. We went to 10s, and I get it. But just we got to put more thought into it and be more creative with trying to mitigate stress and anxiety that our officers are dealing with.
Yeah, and I feel like just being aware. If you're a leader and you're aware, just you're paying attention. You're a leader and you're doing this job for the right reasons. Just paying attention to your officers and recognizing signs of overwork or burnout or stress. And it's okay to tell them, hey, I'm going to take the next 2-3 hours. Why don't you go home? That's true leadership to me. And that's
Exactly.
what we need. That's what the profession needs more. It doesn't matter what rank, what title, whether you're a chief or a rookie officer. If you recognize somebody else in the agency struggling, hey, be a good brother and sister and tell them, hey, I'll take it from here.
Yeah, absolutely. And, everybody's talking about awareness, and I love the term awareness. That's great. But okay, what about the action behind the awareness? So if, I'm a supervisor and I see you, Chad, and you're down, you're tired, exactly. Okay. I'm aware of it now. Maybe I talk to you, we have a conversation. Okay. What am I as a leader going to do to help you out? And like I said, we're all stretched, we're all stretched thin. I get that. We're all, working long hours, but we really have to do more for our men and women.
So do you think just having the start of that culture change of actually caring about the well-being and actually helping people when they start to feel down would just that little bit would start to almost have a trickle down effect, in which it wouldn't even you'd be stopping a lot of the stress and the pain before it got to the point where it was overwhelming to people who were actually, incapacitated.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a big portion of it. Now, there's other things that go into that, in my opinion, but I think, the culture, you both know, it's still pretty prevalent. We just don't talk about stuff. We don't open up. I know I was like that not too long ago, where I wouldn't talk. So if we can create a culture where, and a lot of times, officers want to go outside their agency. I get that. They don't want somebody, some peer knowing, even if they are through EAP or whatever. They don't want them knowing, because loose lips sink ships. You're worried about people talking and stuff like that. I get that. But at least providing officers with, options to go outside of the agency, if they want to. Some agencies do, some agencies don't. But I agree, it's the culture, I think, is a big component of what we're talking about here. And if we can kind of change the culture, and it can be done, because some agencies are doing it. Neil Gang, Harvey, those guys, those are just 2 chiefs. So it can be done. So for an agency out there or a listener who is saying, well, how do we implement that in my agency? Reach out to Neil Gang. He's one of the best guys in the world. Reach out to Chief Harvey through social media. These guys are there to help you, help your agency. So there's plenty of resources out there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just go to an agency that's already doing it and maybe copy it, not exactly, but, mold it to your own agency. And hopefully that would, help change the culture of our organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
If there's an officer listening, Pat, he's listening to this, and he or she is saying, you know what, I'm down. I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't see a way out. I don't know what to do. Maybe or maybe not, they're contemplating ending their lives. What would your message be for them?
Reach out. You have to reach out. And I was guilty of not doing that for a long time. When I first got down into treatment, brother, and Chad knows this. I mean, I was pretty reserved, the first week there. And the groups in Shatterproof, they're all first responders, fire, EMS, law enforcement, military. They don't let you get away. So I'm in there with a group of 30 men and women. They're all telling their story, and they're not forcing you. The counselor's not forcing you to, whoever's running a group, they're not forcing you to do anything. But, when I started opening up, it became a lot easier. It was therapeutic. It's therapeutic talking right now. But for the person out there that's suffering right now, or God forbid, they're thinking about ending their life, please reach out. There's resources out there. We live in an amazing time right now where we have so many resources. Now you got to vet those resources, make sure they're good resources, but reach out to trusted friends and family. I say trusted all the time because you just don't want to reach out to anybody. You want to reach out to people that you can trust. And there's a quote out there. It's one of my favorite quotes, by Martin Luther King Jr. You don't have to see the whole staircase. You just got to take that first step. And I'm not going to promise, but I'm willing to bet that once you take that first step, it's going to be, you're going to start feeling better. And it's a cumulative effect where you start feeling better and better and better and better the more you talk about it. And that saved my life, brother. I mean, so the first thing I would recommend is you have to reach out. I mean, I came to the realization, do I want to end up dead? Do I want to kill myself? Or do I want to reach out? I got two beautiful children, adult children. I got so many friends that I love and care for. I'm going to reach out, and nobody's going to judge you. Maybe some people, but then those are the people you don't want to talk to. You want to reach out to those trusted family and friends. And I'm willing to bet that your life is slow. It's not going to happen overnight, but slowly get better and better and better and better. I'm still evolving, man. I mean, I'm still getting better. I still have, I've implemented my routines again, that I discarded a couple months back. And I'm feeling great, man. Don't touch alcohol anymore.
Awesome.
And I'm feeling really good.
And I think, you mentioned reach out, and even, I know when I was there, I didn't feel comfortable going to anyone within my own agency.
No, yeah.
And I will say, I think you guys both agree that if you really are sitting there and you don't know what to do or where to go, I think there's 3 people right here that you can all reach to, and we're going to point you in the right direction and get you some resources. And, you don't have to worry about loose lips here either.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, that's a great point. I mean, I'm still, I will always be in contact with this group of about 25 first responders I really connected with down in Shatterproof. We text every day.
Awesome.
Literally about 25 of us on this text thread, where when one is feeling bad, the other 23, 24 try to pump them up. And so that's extremely important that you reach out to a network. If you don't have a network, like I said, I'm here for you. I know Chad and Ryan are. So, just please reach out. And, it took me a while to get to that point, but I'm glad I did.
Pat, you say something too, to make me think of that I know so many first responders are feeling this way. There's some misnomers, some things that we think are true, but they're not. One is, I'm alone. I'm the only one going through what I'm going through. That's absolutely not true. Number 2 is I'm broken. So I was great. I was on top of the world. Now something's wrong with me. I can't go back to being the way it was. Instead of broken, you're just going through an obstacle or road bump. But people don't want to admit their problems because I think some of the misnomers are there's something, I'm damaged goods. And it's not true. All that stuff is just incorrect.
No, you're right. And the first thing I want people to realize is you're never going to be that person you were before. But you can become better. You don't want to go back to the person you were before. In most cases, you don't want to do that. So it's a constant evolution. I mean, the whole purpose is part of the purpose in life is to get better, right? Become better humans. But yeah, you're right. People worry about what other people are thinking. The one thing I learned in treatment, Chad, I think I told you this before, but I'll say it again, and Ryan too, is that I learned to be very, very selfish with my treatment, with my mental health, my well-being. And I'm not saying that in a narcissistic, egotistical kind of way. I'm just saying I come first. Sure, I love my kids and my family, would do anything for them, but if I don't take care of myself, who's going to take care of me? You know, I mean, who's going to take care of me? And you made another good point. Look, my problems are not unique, because millions of other people, first responders, everybody, population at large, are have gone or are going through the same thing I went through. So, and I'm not saying whoever's listening that, you know, your problems aren't important. Of course they're important, but there are problems that other people have gone through and overcame, and you can do the same thing. It's just a matter of, again, taking that first step and reaching out. And again, it's a constant improvement. You know, it's a constant moving the ball forward an inch at a time. You know, life is not a sprint, you know, it's a marathon. And so, again, I would encourage the listener, if you are suffering, if you're going through, it doesn't have to be suicidal ideation or thoughts or anything like that. If you're stressed out, if have severe anxiety, Chad, you know, I suffered with that. I couldn't even get out of the car when my sister drove me to the airport. I was that, and I never had that before. Reach out to people, reach out to people. I'm not BSing the listener. If you want to reach out to me, I will answer. You're not alone. Your problems are not unique. I'm not saying in a mean way, but there is hope out there. You know, you can, live your life happy. Are you going to be happy all the time and rainbow rows and unicorns? Probably not. That's really not realistic. But all I have to do is just take that first step, and there's a pretty good chance that you're going to see improvement.
I love looking forward. And I know we're coming up on the new year, time where we're setting goals and projects and plans for 2022. So I definitely want to hear what's up, what's on the horizon for Pat. What do we got coming up? I'm sure you got some good things planned.
Well, I mentioned, I'm on a new mission now. I want to help first responders more in a direct way. So I think I know I showed Chad this, and Ryan, maybe I'm trying to get down to Shatterproof to work for them. We're in kind of some negotiations right now. And I just really want to be more on the front lines. I mean, something's calling me to that kind of direction in my life right now. Of course, I got my show. I got some speaking gigs coming up, which I'm pretty excited about. And who knows? Maybe another book, brother. But I'm happy. I'm excited. But the one thing, again, I'm trying to do. Yeah, it's good to project and kind of have goals and stuff like that. But I just really try to focus on living in the moment. A lot right now, instead of worrying about the future, worrying about this, worrying about that. I really try to make it a point every day to wake up, do my routine, and just live in the moment, man. Because I was really guilty of that, living, down the road, across the corner. But I got a lot of good things coming up, man. I'm pretty excited about my direction right now, and I wasn't just 5-6 months ago.
I think that's huge. One thing I love to say is that when we are more excited and looking forward to the future than we are stuck in our past, that's when we make the shift.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when we live in that moment, enjoy every moment. That's when we're excited to get up and face the day every day, because we realize how great the future is in front of us.
Yeah. Otherwise, Sheryl Crow, I think, has a song, a good song where she talks about, some of the lyrics are, it's not about what you want, it's about what you have. And I'm paraphrasing, and enjoying what you have. So again, I think that's really important.
That's awesome.
So where can everyone connect with you, Pat? What are the best places to reach you, to watch you, to find you?
Well, brother, cjevolution.com is my website, and I have all my episodes up there. I have, some articles, a blog, all my socials linked up. And for your listener, I haven't told anybody this, but I'm gonna have a new design to the website at the beginning of the year. I'm working with a web designer, so that's going to be changing a little bit.
Awesome.
I mean, nothing's going to change with the show, but I'll have a new look to the website. And yeah, cjevolution.com.
I want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to come on and chat with us. And I know, and like you mentioned earlier, and I always say the same thing, if we could reach just one person and help just one person get over a struggle that they're having or a tough time they're going through, it's worth every second of what we did.
Absolutely. Hey, I love you both, man. You guys are doing amazing work. Please, do keep doing what you're doing for the public and our brave men and women who serve. And it was an honor to be on the show, brother.
Thank you very much, Pat.
Thank you, brother.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
See you, buddy.
Bye-bye.